Good morning, class. This is Mr. Walker here, and today we are talking about the distributive property. Now, these are for our last three slides that you have just copied into your notebook for this slide, and this slide. So make sure that you have this notebook open while you are working along with this video. So let's cover what we're going to do. I'll be going through the examples for you. You guys will be working on the practice on your own, okay? So, first off, let's deal with these two examples that we have here. So, when a number or variables is written directly in front of a set of parentheses, it must be multiplied by everything inside of the parentheses. So, in our example, we got 2 on the outside, and in the parentheses, we have 3x minus 7. So, when we're doing the distributive property, what is happening is we have 2 being multiplied by everything inside of there. So let's rewrite what we have here. So I have in here 2, and I'm going to write times 3x. Okay? Actually, let's rewrite it a little better. 2, and then in parentheses 3x. So I know these two are being multiplied. Now over here, I have the same thing happening with 7. So I have 7 being multiplied by 2. Well, sorry. I'll say 2 being multiplied by 7, because that's what I do with 3x. So I'm multiplying these here. After I multiply them, I make sure that I do the multiplication with those things separately, and then rewrite my answer. So, actually, a little bit underneath. All right, so 2 times 3 is 6. And since there was an x with that 3, there's a 6x. And then over here, since this 7 is negative, that means what I get from over here will also be negative. So that would make it a negative 14. So I have 6x minus 14. Make that a little bigger because I like it bigger. There we go. So we go through, we multiply what's outside times whatever is inside of our parentheses here. Now the same thing happens if we do not see a number visibly there. So if there is no number visible written directly in front of the set of parentheses, a 1 should be drawn in front, and the 1 will be positive or negative according to the sign before it. So right here we see that there is nothing in front of this set of parentheses. So that really means that in front of this, we have a imaginary 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this with that in mind so that I can do the distribution correct. So 5 is by itself still out there, but in front of the parentheses, we now have a 1. So I have 1, and then inside I still have 4x plus 2. So since there is a 1 in front of the parentheses with this minus sign, I am distributing not just 1, but negative 1. So when I go through to do this, I have to make sure that I am multiplying negative 1 times both of those things. So negative 1 is being multiplied by 4x, and negative 1 is being multiplied by 2. So because of that, that's going to change around the signs for some things. So just like before, 5 is the only thing that stays the same because nothing's happening to the 5. If I have negative 1 times 4x, that'll make this a negative 4x. And then if I have negative 1 times 2, that'll make it a negative 2. So now that we have this, we also make sure that since we have things that we can simplify, we will simplify this. So we see we got a 5 in the front and a negative 2 in the back. I know that this could be simplified into 5 minus 2 minus 4x, which would be finally equal to just a simple 3 minus 4x. And I'm just doing that just so I could simplify that because we don't really need all those terms there. Because if we can make it simpler, let's do it. So this, at the very end, that's our final answer. So if you can simplify it after you distribute, do simplify it. So we got a couple other examples here that we're going to take a look at. So let's look at this chart over here. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit so you guys can see. So we're doing the distributive property using a couple of these examples here. Over here on the left, we have just a couple of general ways that this distribution can look based off of wherever the term is that we're distributing looks like. So over here, we see that the term that we're distributing is in the front, and it's being multiplied by a set of parentheses. So if we got A times B plus C, that would turn it into A times B plus A times C. So let's get in the habit of doing that. Over here, we got an example that looks just like this. So we have 3 times 4 plus 2. So if I'm multiplying 3 by both of these, that means I have, sorry about that. That means that I have right here 3 times 4, and over here 3 times 2. Now, what I'm just looking for is to see that you know where to place the numbers. Can you go through and do more multiplication? Sure, but I don't necessarily need that. We need to know that we can put the things where we're at the moment, okay? Now, over here, we see that the term that we are multiplying by is behind the parenthesis. Now, you're not always going to see something like this, but it's good to make sure that you're on the ball with this. So this time we have B plus C times A, which means that we have B times A, which is right here, and we have C times A, which is right here. So right here we have 3 plus 5 multiplied by 2. Now we know both of these things are going to be multiplied by 2, so we have to just make sure that we have over here a 3 times 2, and then over here a 5 times 2. Just so we're making sure that we're on the ball with that. Now, over here we see that we have a minus sign in the middle, so that's going to change from what we had before. And we also notice that we don't have any numbers already written here, so we're going to have to write in all the numbers. So this time we see A times B minus C, means that we have A times B, which is AB right here, and then A times negative C, which just turns it into minus A times C. So basically it means that when we distribute it, whatever minus signs were there before are going to be there after. So let's go through and rewrite what we have. So I see I have a 5 here times 6 minus 4. That means that when I multiply this, there should be a 5 here, and there should be a 5 also here. Now, when you look at our next one, you see that there's a 6 first and a 4 second. So that way we want to keep that, order in the same place. So there should be a 6 first in this parenthesis, and there should be a 4 in this second parenthesis. So the way that this looks just like how it looks like over here. And then finally, we see that it's the reverse in this. What we're distributing is on the back end of our parentheses. So we just want to make sure we're keeping up with that. So this is similar to what we did right over here. We're going to put that term that was outside of the parentheses inside of these two parentheses here. Now, this isn't a situation that you see often, but it's good to, again, be aware of what you would do. So we got 1 there and 1 there. Sorry, I mean a 4 there. You know what I mean. And then over here, I got the first term that's in my parentheses, 8, and a second one that's in my next parentheses, a 6. All right. So we're good here. We got nothing else that we need to complete from that. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to actually go through and do the multiplication and then simplify if we need to. So let's go through and practice this. So this time we have 3 being multiplied by x plus 2. So I'm going to give you the 3's, and you have to put in the x and the 2. So let's go through, let's do that. So I'm going to put x here and 2 here. And then after this equal sign, let's rewrite our expression now. We have 3x, and we got plus, my plus sign got stuck, plus 6. And that's our final expression. So we multiply, and then we simplify if we need to. So let's go through, let's do this next one. So I got 2 times r minus 4. I know I'm doing 2 times r, so there should be an r here. And we should have 2 times the 4. And because there was a minus sign in between them, over here this minus sign will also be there. So when we go through and do that math, we should have 2r, and then we should have minus 8, because 2 times 4 is 8. All right, now, this was the second case that we had before, where we had the thing that we're distributing on the outside. So let's go through and do that math. We're going to have an n here and an n here. And then in front of these, we'll have the n that was in the beginning of this parenthesis, and the 6 that was at the end of this parenthesis. Now, let's go through and simplify this. If we have 2 n's being multiplied together, that's going to give us an n to the second power. So we have n to the second power. I'm just going to go through and put that in a set of parentheses just so we don't get confused. And then we have 6 times n. So it's 6 is being multiplied times a variable. We just rewrite that as 6n. And then that is my answer. Now, underneath this, on the your turn part, that is your turn to take a crack at that, okay? Remember, I am going to be checking these as you are working on them, so do your best, okay? All right, make sure you tune in for part 2 for the next slide, okay? Y'all have a good day.